In this video, we're going to cover the first time use and what it takes to get set up so that we can begin to use the unit. So after the unit's been installed and we have it plugged in and turned on for our first time, there's a few important settings that we need to put into the control before we can begin to use it. Those settings are just going to be the time, the date, the temperature format, and then also the languages that we use in our region. And then last, we just need to verify the serial number on our data plate right here on top, that it matches the control and what it has in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that would look like with putting that information into the control. To go ahead and input those settings into the control, we need to tap on our settings tab right here on our home screen. The first one we're going to do is going to be our temp unit, and we're going to scroll down right here. And you see right here we have our temperature unit. Now if we want to change this to Celsius, what we would do is we would go ahead and tap on that, but we're going to have to enter the manager PIN passcode, and that passcode would be 1122. We would go ahead and hit our green check mark, and now we could go ahead and change that to Celsius. However, for this demonstration, I'm going to leave it at Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to tap my green check mark in the lower right hand corner. Now the second setting that we need to do is going to be our time and our date. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and select the current date, which today is the 20th. We would enter 1122 once again, because anytime we make changes, we need to enter that passcode. Now the current time, if I want to change that, then I can tap on that time, and then I can select my hours over here by scrolling up or down, and we will leave that at 11. And then the same thing for our minutes as well as our seconds. Once we have that entered, we can go ahead and tap the green check mark, and that will be set. We can also set for 12 or 24 hour time frame that we're using. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to tap the time zone. The UTC stands for the Universal Coordinated Time Zone. Now we can do a quick Google search to look up and see what time zone we're in for the UTC. Now we'll either be negative so many hours from 0 or positive so many hours for 0. And you can look that up, like I mentioned, on a quick Google search to see what region you're in. For the Eastern Standard Time here, we're actually at -5 hours, so we have that selected, brings us back to our main screen, and then also we want to select if we are in daylight savings time. I went ahead and enabled that, and then for these settings, I can go ahead and tap my green check mark, and they're saved. Now the next setting I want to go to is going to be our languages. This is an important one to set when we're setting up the control for the first time, because depending on what region we are in, we may have different languages that we use. So for this application, we don't really use the France one, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, but I have to enter my code once again so that I can make those changes. Tap the green check mark, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck France. So I only have English and Spanish selected. Now I can go ahead and tap my green check mark, and those are going to be the only two languages that I'll be able to choose from when we go back to the other screen later on throughout the day. So with these selected throughout the day, if I want to quickly change over to Espanol, I'll be able to do that in my main operations screen, and I'll be able to choose from English or Spanish only. Now if I had these other boxes checked, if I had those languages in my region, I would also be able to select those from that quick English or that quick language menu in the main page. The last thing we need to do is to scroll over to verify that our serial number is input correctly. And that brings us to this page. This is where we could go ahead and take a look up here on our data plate and make sure that the serial number located right here matches what we have on our screen already in the control. As long as that serial number matches, then no edits would need to be done. However, If that number did not match, we would need to go ahead and tap on our serial number. This requires a slightly different passcode by entering 11221122 to change that serial number. Now we can go ahead and tap on it again, and this is where we could go ahead and edit this serial number with our keys down here. To change over to numbers, we would just select that, and then it would bring up our number options. Once we have that changed and it correctly matches the data plate for our serial number, we could go ahead and hit our green check mark to save that information. We would tap our green check mark on this page, and then that would complete the setup of the control for a quick start to get us going with the unit. With all that information complete and entered, we can now tap our back button, which takes us back to our home screen, which is where we're going to go into our next video, which is setting up the day parts configuration.